Welcome back to Winn Tucson on this Friday before Memorial Day weekend. Chad, you have been working with the Arizona legislature this session, and back in April, we did have some success. The Permit Freedom Act signed into law after small business owners called for greater procedural protections, and you did have a victory. So would you mind sharing about that with our listeners?
Sure, absolutely. Happy to say that bill has been signed into law. The Permit Freedom Act was actually a bill that the Goldwater Institute brought forward, and NFIB was happy to support them in the efforts of moving that through the legislature. Basically, provides some clean and clear lines for government in their actions on permits. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there who have had the time and trouble of going into a local government and requesting a permit, doing all the paperwork, and then the government takes its merry time to act on your permit. And so this basically just sets up some clear lines that the local government has to give you expectations and some outcomes as far as if they will accept or reject your permit. So I think that'll be a great improvement. We did have a recent veto of one of the bills that was passed this year, which is quite concerning though as well.
And what is that, please?
Well, NFIB was a supporter of House Bill 2108. During our previous chat here just a few minutes ago, I brought up unemployment insurance fraud that occurred during the pandemic.
Yes.
And House Bill 2108 would have put in some needed, what we would consider cross-checks on unemployment insurance claims, just to basically make sure that they're not fraudulent claims. Is the person that's applying for unemployment alive? We're going to check the Social Security database and other known databases to make sure that the applicant is actually a true person and is unemployed. So it had a series of these cross-checks built in or would have supported the existing unemployment insurance system in Arizona. And our governor, Katie Hobbs, did veto that bill. And so that was one recent piece of legislation we supported that did not make it through the finish line. It actually had bipartisan support on its first run, I believe, through the House.
Did she say why she vetoed the bill? It's always interesting to me why she vetoes these things because, and by the way, those are the majority. She's vetoed more bills. I think she's on a record pace to veto more bills than any governor in the state of Arizona. So, but do we know what her issue was on your bill? Well,
this is, as you mentioned, one of several vetoes that we've seen through the legislative session. So it will go onto the stack of vetoed bills. But I think the main concern is implementation. As you can imagine, the governor oversees the agency that would implement this. And so it's usually an easy veto to say that we would have trouble implementing this, or we'd have concerns about implementing this. And I would also say, just on the other side, the department has for years had plans to upgrade their computer systems within that manages the unemployment insurance system.
Correct.
And so there was some perceived conflicts with what they were doing on the system upgrade. So those were the basic objections, but didn't really hit at the heart of what the policy is trying to do, is trying to make a clean unemployment insurance system without fraud.
And I would hope that there's enough interest, and if you had bipartisan support, especially in the House, that you could bring something like this back. I don't know if there's any strikers left, but if not this session, the next session, because
probably not. Yeah, probably not this session, but certainly something to work on in years to come. We have some issues left at the legislative session, and a lot of work from the nomination committee in the Senate for director nominations too. So plenty of other work to do.
And talk to us about that. So the director for Arizona's Department of Labor, is that what you're talking about, or something different?
Well, actually, one that's coming up next week. And first, I'd like to just publicly say that President Warren Peterson and the chairman of the Senate Committee on Director Nominations,
yes,
they have been doing remarkable work and really have changed the process on how the Senate does their consent process for governor appointees to run agencies.
And they've actually kept out some people that, like what you're trying to do with Miss Sue at the federal level. They've actually kept out some people that probably weren't competent to do jobs. I have to applaud for a different reason, but their efforts in what they're doing. So continue, Chad.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to call that out and let your listeners know there is one coming up next week. An agenda was posted for Wednesday of next week, May 31st, for the consideration of Martine Quesada to head the Registrar of Contractors. And we were kind of talking before about independent contractors, the Registrar of Contractors is the state agency that effectively
controls all of those people.
Controls, right? So you have to register with their office, get licensed with the Registrar of Contractors, and then they regulate residential and commercial contractors. So for a lot of small businesses, this is a pivotal agency. And I would say that small business owners should probably look a little bit wary at the nominee that's coming before the committee next week. Mr. Quesada was formerly a state senator, and I just happened to pull up his voting record from his last term as a senator, which was, of course, 2001 and 2002. And as you know, we score elected officials based on their voting record.
Correct.
And out of 8 votes, Mr. Quesada voted with small business 0 times.
Oh, that's a perfect person to put in charge of the Register of Contractors. Oh, we cannot make this up, people.
He was one of only 2 state senators that year that scored a 0 on our issues, and I don't believe any House members scored. Maybe one House member scored a 0.
So have you notified the people that do support small business as to this nomination and your concerns? Is it out there? Do we need to? We probably need to blow this up a little bit and let people know. I think people have kind of gone to sleep since the budget got passed, and yet this is important.
Yes, I'm making the announcement right now.
Okay, good. I'll get it. I promise I'll get it out. But we'll get it out through our network. I think we don't understand why things change, or when you put someone in charge of something and their political view is nothing like yours, nor is it conducive for small businesses. So if you put someone in charge who's their goal and mission, and they don't even maybe understand how small businesses work, and they're going to be the antithesis of what you need in that role, stop that train before it ever leaves the station. Don't let that train leave the station. And how you do that is you reach out to your elected officials. And this is, again, shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat issue. This should be what is beneficial for our small businesses. That's who you're advocating for. So we're talking to Chad Heinrich of the, he's the Arizona State Director for NFIB, and we have a consideration. Is there someone else that I guess that's not up to you, but do you think that there's better choices out there to be taking over the Register of Contractors?
Well, of course, one thing that we would love to see in someone that's going to run the Register of Contractors agency is somebody that actually knows the business of independent contracting. And so that would be, of course, a consideration. And I would say that the other concern that we have is not necessarily with the person that's going to run the agency. It's also with the people that they're going to appoint. And just unofficially, I've had some emails from folks that point out like agency kind of subdivision heads that have already been appointed that have no business experience. All they have is political experience, and now they're in charge of things like compliance and assigning penalties to small businesses that aren't in compliance. So very concerning.
Yeah, if you put someone in charge who has no background in that, this is where we get issues and mistakes, and we have to continue. It seems like we as the public are more involved in our government than we ever have been before. We are coming to the end of our time. Thank you. We will have you on again whenever you have anything that you want to share with our listeners. We will light up the phones of our senators and of our state legislators to support those. Small business, especially in Tucson, is the lifeblood of our business community. Chad, have a wonderful and safe holiday, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Kathleen. You as well. Take care.
Thank you.